Hello, everyone. Welcome. MTL Sports Podcast, episode 66. We gonna do a little bit different, okay? We've been talking about football, the NFL, college football for majority of the podcast since what, August, September. We're gonna switch it up. We got a basketball focused episode today. First up, we got the NBA trade deadline is what, next month, about 30 days or so. We're going to give you a list of teams to watch out for, some winners and some sellers at the trade deadline to watch out for. And then we got some college, some men's basketball, in the NCAA teams to watch out for. When it comes to what, tournaments? Is that what we're going over today?
I mean, honestly, you can use it for the tournament. I just feel like these teams are going to be good for the tournament. And I feel like if you just play some bets on them throughout the season as well, they're just some good sleeper teams. No one's paying attention to, and you might as well get your money while you can for them. But no, most of these teams are either going to be fighting for a chance or they're going to be in the chance. But basically, the whole NIL thing for college basketball has made college basketball just so much more amazing because now there's a variety of good teams instead of just we're going to have a Big 10, Big 12, all those going to be the best. Now it's spread. It's spreading now. It's spreading. Everyone's getting good players.
The wealth of spreading is what we love to see in any sport. So we'll go over that. And then, that'll be the podcast. The Monday night last game of wild card weekend is Eagles, Bucks, and that's just about 30 minutes from tip-off. So we'll have a jam-packed episode for you guys. But with that being said, stay tuned. Some NBA trade deadline. We got winners and sellers. We're going to give you a list of teams to watch out for. Trade deadline, I believe, is like February 9th or something like that. So sometime in February. Remember, now they changed it. So the February trade deadline is like a week earlier, and then the All-Star game is the week after because they want. It was kind of weird before how like you could get traded and play for one team during the All-Star game, and then literally you go to a new team the next week. So they kind of switched that up. If it's a good thing, I don't know. It's only been a couple years, but we'll reflect on that at some other point. But we got some winners and sellers. But first, we did have a trade that we didn't get a chance to go over. I think a trade happened. It was either Saturday or Sunday between the Wizards.
It was Sunday. It was Sunday, like in the morning time.
The Wiz and Pistons made a transaction. Basically, it was Pistons get Gallinari and Mike Muscala. Wiz get Marvin Bagley, Livers, and 2 second-round picks. I know in the group chat we were talking about it, saying it's a very mid trade. I agree, it's very mid, but for the Pistons standpoint, they have a log jam at the forward/center, and so it made sense to get off Bagley's contract. They gave him a horrible contract. Bagley's never lived up to being 3rd overall. They need to move off that contract, and then they got 2 expiring contracts, 2 guys they can either keep or they can buy out. They got plenty of money, and they're pretty bad, so they honestly don't need these guys. Honestly, the Wiz only really played Gallinari. Mike Muscala played here and there, but not really making an impact in Washington, D.C. So we'll see. The Wiz did need a big, so Marvin Bagley might play a decent amount of minutes. We'll see. They played tonight, but I don't think he played. But we'll see. I'll give this grade like a C+. I think very mid. Washington gets some more picks. They're trying to stockpile picks, and they still got some players they're trying to shop. So
Do you think they ever try to shop Jordan Poole at this point?
Oh, I've been on that. I think that's a thing, but I think the more likely candidate, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, it's gonna be Kuzma. What do you give this trade? What grade would you give it?
In my opinion, I give it I mean, obviously, there's something exciting about it, but what you're getting for it, I mean, I give the Wizards like a B. He didn't give up anything. I mean, Gallinari probably wants to leave anyways. Pistons are going to probably buy out his contract and he's going to go somewhere else. Mike Muscala is just going to hang around like he normally does. Washington gets to be like what, the 15 now to try to revive, or is it the 14 to try to revive Bagley?
Yep.
See if his career can do something. He wasn't a high overall pick for a reason. Maybe he just, maybe he just needs a little bit of playing time that he doesn't, and without a log jam, like you said, of talent in that certain area in that position. And then the fact that you just get some second round picks for it, I mean, fair enough to me. To me, it just seems a little confusing because, in my opinion, all the Pistons got was Gallinari. Oh, yeah, sorry, Muscala. Because Gallinari's going to leave. So why you gave up 2 picks, I didn't really know whether the Pistons just didn't care or not. It is what it is, but I thought that was a little interesting one for me, was the 2-pick part.
Yeah, that contract's really bad, so it makes sense. You're going to have to give some picks to whoever wants to take that contract. I think he still has like 2 years and like $30 million for Bagley. So a little incentive to take that contract. But let's move on. Let's talk about some winners and some buyers and sellers, I should say, at the trade deadline. I'm going to go with the first buyer. Obviously, I talked about this in the first MTL Saturday special. The Lakers are going to be the first buyers. This Lakers team, they definitely need to make a move. They are not in the position that they thought they would be in coming out of the offseason, where they made a huge amount of noise, right? They signed Taurean Prince, they re-signed Vando, they re-signed D'Lo, they re-signed Reeves, pick up Hayes and Christian Wood and all these guys, and they're a couple weeks ago they were 2 games better than they were the previous year when they had Russ, Pat Bev, and all those guys. Like very sad state. So they are definitely buyers. A player to watch out for is DeJounte Murray. Now, will he make a difference? I don't know, just because I think the Lakers need a scorer more than they need like a guy who can maybe give you 15 to 20 and then play some defense. I think they need like a bona fide scorer to take pressure off LeBron. LeBron's playing point guard right now. I don't think they necessarily need another point guard. And for them, they really don't have assets. They have 1 first rounder, they have a couple seconds, and they have Austin Reeves. And they don't really want to get rid of Austin Reeves. So I don't know. With all that being said, Lawrence, how do you feel about the first buyer?
I don't really have much to say on it. I mean, I just feel like there's going to be a lot of players that we think are going to move, and no one's going to make any moves. Honestly, I've stopped giving my hopes up for amazing trade deadline moves, because every year they always, I don't want to say tickle our fancies with the ideas that stuff will happen, but in reality, every single year, nothing ever happens with those trades. But what I can say is DeJounte Murray, I think, is a great move for Atlanta. Because honestly, I don't see how he brings anything else to the table that they're not already using. He, in my opinion, he kind of gets just a little bit more in the way of Trae Young. Because they both want to have the ball in their hands. And that's what he was doing beforehand. Now he's more like a shooting guard. That's not really his main suit. He definitely needs to have that ball back in his hands. I mean, yes, it makes a lot of sense for the Lakers, but the problem with the Lakers is the Lakers aren't going to want to give up anything for him. The Lakers are going to want you to give them stuff without having them give you stuff. They don't want to give up anything on that roster. That's going to be the biggest problem with this Lakers team. I mean, you're seeing a move for DeJounte Murray. I mean, quite honestly, we might be looking in the wrong place. I mean, OKC might be calling up. Who knows? But if OKC can stop having, Shai Gilgeous have the ball in his hand constantly, give Shai Gilgeous some time off, from dribbling up and down the court, let him play his more shooting guard focused role, especially that one season when he had Chris Paul. He went off with that. See, that was his first break. Well, he had some before, but that was his big breakout year, was with Chris Paul, because Chris Paul gave him open shots. Chris Paul allowed him to, use screens a little bit more, be way more in motion. So I just think the only problem with the Lakers is the Lakers don't want to give up anything. My only problem with the Warriors trying to pick up anyone is who's going to want anything that you have to give you something. I don't want Clay. I don't want Clay. I don't want Draymond. Those two are not packageable deals. And then you're not going to want to give up your young pieces, but you can't not keep young pieces because at this point, Clay and Draymond aren't going to be there next year, pretty much. So you're going to have someone on the starting lineup unless you're going to totally rehaul the whole team. I just think we're going to see movement out of teams that were not really believing they were going to make a lot of movement.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see this trade deadline because there's a lot of possibilities. A lot of teams can go a lot of different directions. I got pulled up right here. The Hawks want 2 first-round picks. And this is a little aside, but for DeJounte, they want 2 first-rounders. Now, I run the Twitter account. I tweeted, the OG trade, he really reset the market. OG was well coveted. Last year, the Raptors wanted 3 first-rounders. This man got traded for RJ Barrett, filler, and a second. There's no way in hell teams are going to trade 2 firsts for DeJounte. And I know that's what they spent to get him, but they're not going to be able to recoup that, especially if, the teams that want him are like the Lakers, teams like at the top who don't really have assets. Like, it's just not going to happen. So some of these teams have to kind of, adjust whatever their trade expectations are, because I don't think no one's going to pay up this freight to. I mean, he's a good player, but no one's going to pay the freight.
Especially now that everyone covets. I'm not going to say they covet draft picks anymore, but people are starting to notice that certain teams have all the draft picks, and now it becomes a very hard to have trade asset anymore. Because everyone's just going to corner markets for trade pieces, and the biggest trade piece used ever is draft capital, something you don't know what you have yet. It's like you might have something good, but there's also a chance you won't get anything out of this. But will you know until you do it? No. But you got to trust your gut that you'll get something out of it, and guess what? You might end up with a Bagley, which you got nothing,
or an Ayton, or the list goes on and on. First seller, moving on. First seller, I got the Wiz. We all know the Wiz are officially starting to rebuild. At first, we thought it might be like a revamp, but it's definitely a rebuild. They're pretty bad. I think they're, second in the East right now. Just lost to the Pistons, who are the worst team in the NBA on MLK Junior days. Pretty pathetic at home. Very disappointed. Not even a fan like that, but still pretty poor performance tonight by the Wiz. But they do have a couple of assets that teams want. From Tyus Jones to Kuzma, even Poole, even though he's been on and off and struggling for, I would say, all of this season. I think Poole, if a team wants to maybe reinvest in him, I think that could be a possibility as well. Also, DeLon Wright. I think even Kispert could be moved because that guy, he is hitting his shots this year. He is shooting lights out. So Kispert, I think even he is on the block as well. So I'll ask you this: who do you think is most likely to be moved on the Wizards?
In my opinion, I feel like you can't move Tyus Jones. I feel like Tyus Jones is a really good asset to build around for the future. Whether or not they listen to that, to be honest with you, I think that I doubt they listen to that. I feel like Tyus might be the one moved. I guess I just kind of have a differing thought process with the Kuzma trade. I just feel like Kuzma is going to be the one guy that doesn't get moved.
Oh, okay.
Because I feel like Kuzma is just, well, he pretty much is, at this point in time, he is Washington. He basically is our old Beal. He's what we had before. We paid him a lot of money. And honestly, outside of if we did get rid of Kuzma, we have no one.
No.
Yeah, you can always say we have Jordan Poole, but we literally would have no one. I don't think Jordan Poole is. I don't think he's worth a damn anymore at this point.
Okay.
I watched Kuzma when I went to the game against the Nets. They ran Kuzma at the center, and somehow, some way, Kuzma played amazing at the center, starting at center. So you can't, in my opinion, Kuzma, you just can't get rid of. And I think you should try to do the Tyus Kuzma rebuild. I think maybe you just messed up a little bit with the Jordan Poole pick. It happens. No one was too sure that was what was going to go down. You got him, but now everyone knows, and well, you got to be the one person to make the mistake. But it's okay. You can dust yourself off, and you'll probably get a little less than you're supposed to. But he does have a lot. He does have a big bag, so someone has to give you something for him. And honestly, I mean, there's teams out there who need shooting help. I mean, honestly, the another big one that we can easily say is Atlanta again. Jordan Poole doesn't like to dribble and go up the court with the ball. Okay, Trae Young loves to do that. DeJounte Murray likes to dribble up the court and play with the ball. Okay, Jordan Poole, he can just be Trae Young's, right-hand man. I pass you ball, you shoot. Okay. But the only problem with Poole in Atlanta, he's too small. And they're going to have two small guys.
That'd be the worst backcourt ever. That'd just be giving up points.
Small. They're just too small.
They'd be giving up points left and right.
I mean, honestly, the only place Poole can go to and they can feel comfortable enough having a small man like him is like San Antonio. Because you got the biggest man in the team or the biggest man in the NBA on your team. But honestly, we were the team that made the Jordan Poole mistake. If you got to move anyone, if you're going to move anyone, in my opinion, you got to move Poole. Kispert can get you something. He's not going to get you a whole lot of anything.
Nah.
But I think a sleeper that we're not going to get rid of because it's just not. But a sleeper we could get something for is Denny Avdija. I think he could get us something. Because you're going to look at Denny and be like, are you going to pay him? Or are you not going to pay him? Is he worth paying?
They already paid him.
No, you're going to have to pay him again. Because at this point,
in a couple
years. But, I mean, he has a good value for what you paid for him now for what he's returning on your value now. He's got a good market value at the moment for the production he's doing. He can easily go to most teams and either become 6th, 7th man off the bench. Honestly, a team that Denny seems like he'd be really good for is like the Mavericks. Luka might even like some guy, coming off his bench, playing really hustle ball for Luka. He's also from overseas. It feels like a connection that could work down in Dallas. But Denny, you can get something for Denny, and you might have to get something for Denny because the train's going to derail soon on what they have now.
I don't think Denny's going to be moved anytime soon. They just re-signed him, so I think they're going to try and see what his value. Probably try to creep that up some more. I think you're right. Poole has to be the one to go, but I don't. It's just hard. It's just hard to make a trade that makes sense for him.
Because he's a liability wherever someone wants him. So you're gonna have to they're gonna have to give up first round picks to get him gone.
I mean, that's what Golden State. I mean, they attached a first to get rid of him. So I think the same thing is going to apply here. I think what you hope for is hopefully maybe he catches fire, closer to the trade deadline. Maybe then you move him, but otherwise you probably stick it out at least one season with Poole, and then maybe the off season you try to unload him. I think it depends on the direction that the Wiz want. If they want multiple first rounders, I think you go with Kuz, you trade him, probably get 2 firsts, and then Tyus can get you a first. So if they want to hoard draft picks now, I think those are the 2 guys to go. But we really don't know what the front office wants to do yet. They just kind of been silent on that front. Second buyer to watch out for in the trade deadline. I think this has to be the Pacers. Honestly, I think the Pacers they need to make a move. And then some of you guys might say, well, they have Halliburton, and they're 6th in the East. That's a pretty decent spot. Yeah, but I think the Pacers, they're in a spot where the team is well built right now. They have expiring contracts. They're 6th in the East, so they're not in the play-in. They're just outside the play-in. They're playing well, and their salary cap, looking into the future, is looking pretty decent. So if you can package some of these expiring contracts and you have some picks, this is the move this might be the season that they make a move. There's Pascal Siakam, which they have heavy rumors about. They might try to make a move there. I honestly think that's a great move. I think Pascal works best in Indy or in OKC. I think those are the two best destinations for Pascal Siakam. But yeah, I think they definitely need to make a move at the small forward because right now, I think is it Ben Mathurin or Buddy Hield's the small forward?
Mathurin.
It's Mathurin because Naismith is out, Bruce Brown is out. So yeah, they're kind of small when it comes to forward. They have Obi Toppin, but he's definitely a power forward. Miles Turner is solidifying the center. And they have good guards, so it's mainly like a wing that they need. Pascal fits that. What do you think? What players should the Pacers go after?
I mean, to solidify, I think they got to go defense. There's no way this team can outright think that playing fast pace, quick every game will allow them to win anything or go far or make even a run in the playoffs.
Yep.
I think it works for in-season tournament. I think it works for regular season games, but I don't think it works for a 7-game series because you can get figured out, and if you don't play any defense to help mitigate what people will figure out, then you'll become. Your defense will be your biggest Achilles heel and liability, which Pascal can play defense and score for you. So I mean that betters your team. Honestly, I think the Pacers they need more than just one piece though. They need like 2 or 3. This is like a 2 or 3 needing team. They need 2 or 3 pieces. So what I think they can do in this trade deadline to fix that, maybe you're going to get one piece at this trade deadline. You can't get more than 2. But it depends on what piece you end up getting this trade deadline. Like you did say, I do believe that Pascal Siakam would be good for the Pacers. Gives you a better 4. It lets you have a 5 when Miles Turner needs a break. It's just usable in multiple spots. But I think it's just the defense that they need. They just need a little bit more defense. The thing with the Pacers is they allow people to just drive in the paint on them a lot.
Yep.
If Turner and Siakam can fix that problem just a little bit more, you have to feel confident enough in your guards in order to play fast, in order to repel 3-point shots being thrown at you all of their game because you're going to throw them right back. That's going to be the way you play. But I still think the Pacers are still too many pieces away from making a big run. But I can understand how if they got Siakam, you become a more attractive piece at next offseason.
Yeah, 100%. I think one piece at a time. I think right now, after the in-season tournament, they're definitely looking more attractive. But hey, if you get like a second star to pair with Halliburton and you give them a little bit of time together to showcase what they can do, then come off season, that's when you lower your third star or you go out and you go trade for another guy. So it's definitely something to look out for. And our second sellers at the deadline, kind of already hinted at it. It's going to be Atlanta, right? Atlanta, they're not playing well at all. DeJounte Murray rumors have been going on since they traded him because I don't know what the hell they were thinking when they traded for him. I knew that was not going to work. That fit is horrible. You have 2 guys that do the same thing, except for one guy plays what? One guy plays defense, one guy doesn't play a lick of defense. Nope. I mean, the backcourt is just too small. Murray can play defense, but at the end of the day, he's just too small. And the roster is just not well constructed. And I mean, the last coach, I think, Nate McMillan, I don't think it was his fault. I think the roster is just poorly constructed. Now they got Snyder in there, and he's honestly doing the best he can. Because the roster, I mean, DeAndre Hunter's out, Wes Matthews is out. This Jalen Johnson's kid's kind of taking over Capella's role. Capella, isn't really the focus when it comes to like the starting center / defensive anchor. There's just a lot of random pieces in this roster. So expect Murray, Bogdanovich, Capella, Sadiq Bey. Some of these guys are definitely names. Even Hunter. A team might want Hunter. So expect some of these guys to be moved come trade deadline. What do you think, Lawrence? What do you think the most likely to move on this roster?
Probably DeAndre Hunter, Dejounte Murray, maybe Clint Capella. Probably not. I see Jalen Johnson could get moved, but he's kind of young and he kind of came out of nowhere, so people might be hesitant towards that one. But honestly, if it's me and I'm the Hawks, I'm getting rid of DeAndre Hunter. I don't think you've ever got enough out of him.
Nah.
So I would just jump. I would toss him to the curb, and I would toss Murray to the curb. Mainly because I need to get rid of Murray in order to fix other problems. I think you just keep Clint Capella. Just you don't need to get rid of everything. You can keep that one, but those are the two you gotta get gone.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you. So the honorable mentions, we're not going to go too deep into this, but some honorable mentions as are teams to look out for. Look out for the Cavs. I think they might be sellers. I think, they might have some people that they want to unload. I hinted earlier, depending on how they were, if Donovan Mitchell might get moved, but as you can see right now, they're tied for fourth, so I wouldn't expect a Donovan Mitchell trade. He's probably going to get moved in the offseason if the extension talks go south. Buyers, Miami's going to be a buyer. Look out for them. I think the Bulls are going to be sellers. Look out for them. I actually think the Nets are going to be buyers. I think they have talent, and I think they probably should be a little bit better than they are. But if they can get someone in to help them, look out for them. The Thunder are well positioned to make a move. Will they? We'll have to see. But like I said, Siakam would work wonders for the Thunder, and they would definitely be the best team in the West if that happened. And the Kings. I think the Kings, other than the Thunder and the Lakers, are probably the other team to watch out for. They have some cap space. They have some cap flexibility. They don't want to ruin that totally, but they definitely could use some moves, especially after, last postseason, they losing to the Warriors in that Game 7. They don't have enough horses to compete in the playoffs, so they definitely could benefit from a move come trade deadline. And that's about it for buyers and sellers of the trade deadline. Remember, that's going to be next month in February. I believe it's February 9th. But in the comments, let me know the actual date. Coming up next week, got some men's basketball to talk about. Teams to look out for coming before the tourney. NCAA men's basketball. We got Lawrence here to talk about that. Some teams to be on the lookout for when it comes to, I guess a lot of teams are doing conference play right now. I know our Mason Patriots have lost their first 2 conference games after a very good non-conference, first half schedule. So
yeah, we won our first 2 games and then we lost our next 3. It was really disappointing. I was high on them too, watching the preseason, but what do you call it? Out of season schedule. I was pretty confident on them because they beat teams like Tulane. They went into Tulane and beat Tulane, and Tulane's a pretty good team. Do I think Tulane makes the tournament? I think they're a borderline team to make the tournament. I think it's unlikely they make the tournament, but there's always that possibility they could. But yeah, I'll just start with it. I have something written down for most teams, but I'm not going to get into the belly of it. But I'll try to work around some. So like starting out, you got your top 25. All these teams. We're not really going to dwell on most of these teams because that's not the teams we're looking out for. We're looking for the sleepers. We're looking for teams that we think might make some noise, some hoopla. I will talk a little bit some of these guys who are ranked though, because I do think that some of them have a lot of ways a lot of noise they can make. So starting off with the AAC, I believe Memphis, who is ranked, They are a top 10 team. And another one of their cohorts, which is North Texas. Actually, I can start from right here where you have your college standings right there, and I can work down. So basically, the A-Sun, whoever wins the Athletic Sun, they win the Athletic Sun. There is no team in the Athletic Sun that I could actually tell you that stands out, and they are a guaranteed shoot. They're a guaranteed shout. That conference is a little bit of a question mark. You do not know what you're getting out of that conference. Whoever comes out of it, they could possibly be a 16 seed. So don't be high on the Atlantic Sun. American East, though, I do like UMass. What was it? Lowell. I do like UMass. The only problem with UMass, though, UMass Lowell, is Vermont. Vermont always makes runs when it matters, when postseason start or when conference play starts. They always make runs in their little tournament, and this is one of those divisions that will only get one team. So in my opinion, look out for Vermont to spoil the party like they almost do every other year. But don't be surprised if the Albany Great Danes also make a sneaky run. But moving down, you got the American Athletic Conference. So looking at the top two, you got Memphis, and then you got North Texas sitting right there, right above Charlotte. I think North Texas is a sleeper. They were talking highly of North Texas at the beginning of the season. Then they didn't do too hot. And then they did kind of 50-50 in the beginning of the season. However, since conference play has started, they've taken care of business. They've beaten who they need to beat. And basically the way they do things is just straight up hardcore defense and rebounding. And pretty much if you know how to beat a team, all you got to do is play hard, tough defense and rebound. You go on the road and you can't rebound and you can't play defense, you pretty much don't have many chances to beat teams unless you can blow them out. They're not a team that can go in there and blow anyone out. Memphis, I wasn't actually going to include Memphis, but now I am, because Memphis is actually starting to show the fact that they can blow out a team. If you paid attention to Memphis beginning of the season, and at any point probably before 3 games ago, you were on the same page as Memphis should be killing these teams, and Memphis is not killing these teams. It's okay now. Memphis is starting to murder. They are on a murder streak. I'm pretty sure it's Penny Hardaway is their head coach. He's got his boys juiced and ready to make runs. So be on the lookout for Memphis when the NCAA tournament starts. But they're not any team to be, paying attention to now or betting on. They're not going to have any value. They're an NCAA March Madness team. Another one, you go right down to the A10, the Dayton Flyers. They're guaranteed always going to be an electrifying team to watch. They are a good team. The fact that they are ranked, this last game they just played, forgot who they were matched up against. I think it was Duquesne. Duquesne's sitting there in the middle of the conference, or actually at the very bottom now at this point. They're 0-3. But Duquesne was the favorite to win at home against Dayton. I slammed that Dayton money line all day. Dayton came out on top. They blew them out a little bit. They were down, they were up, they were down, and then they absolutely curb stomp them. So pay attention to Dayton. Dayton is a really good team to pay attention to. I think they have a lot of promise to make good runs. And a sleeper team in this conference, they haven't started off hot, but St. Bonnie's. St. Bonaventure started the year hot. Since conference play has started, they've kind of struggled a little bit. They're kind of like a George Mason right now. They're struggling in conference play, but they've beaten good teams outside of conference play. So a big question mark on them. I'm not completely sold on George Washington. I do think George Washington's kind of good, but I'm not completely sold. And the team that should be better than they are is Richmond Spiders. But you never believe in the Richmond Spiders until it is time to believe in the Richmond Spiders, because they will always bite you in the ass. So we do not believe in Richmond until Richmond gives us enough belief to believe in them. ACC, I don't want to talk too much about the ACC because the ACC is going to be a crapshoot. They're going to get a ton of teams. But some good teams out of it to pay attention to. in terms of watching for March Madness is UNC. They basically have used the NIL portal perfectly. They have perfectly built their team around the NIL portal. They got guys who were basically stars at their former schools, and now they get to be stars at UNC with Baycott, and I forgot who else stayed, but Baycott was the main guy who stayed. But now they got stars around him. Duke, my only problem with Duke is Duke gets bullied sometimes. You watch a Duke game, sometimes you'll believe that they do play a little soft. That can be a problem. They played soft against Georgia Tech, and you can see Georgia Tech sitting there at 1-4 in the conference. Georgia Tech's not that good, and both times Georgia Tech beat Duke once and lost Duke the second time. But they played Duke really hard the second time. They had a lead on them multiple times in that game. Don't be sold on UVA. UVA is not good. UVA is good at defense. They're not good at offense. UVA cannot play on the road. Just don't believe in UVA. We can't bet on UVA because we're in Virginia, but UVA is a good team to go against. Some sleeper teams in this conference that people may not be talking about. I would tell you Clemson, but Clemson started off questionable. Pittsburgh started off hot. Now they've gone questionable in the ACC. However, teams that are not questionable in the ACC and have performed high, NC State, they're sitting there at 4 technically, but they played UNC and they played UNC hard. They lost, but they played them hard and they beat UVA. So they're winning when it matters. Then they're beating teams. Virginia Tech, if Virginia Tech's at home, it's always a shout. There's always a chance. Virginia Tech's on the road, they're basically like UVA. So basically, once a Virginia team leaves the state of Virginia, good luck. Moving on to the Big 12. The Big 12 is another crapshoot. They're probably going to get like 7 or 8 teams. That's just how it's going to be. The Big 12 is going to get a lot of teams.
A lot of ranked teams. I mean, just looking at it.
Yeah, there are a lot of ranked teams. I think some of them are unfairly ranked. I don't think some of them are as good as we think they are. I don't think BYU is that good. I don't think Oklahoma is that amazing. But I do think that Iowa State is pretty good. TCU is going to be a tough shout every single game. I think Baylor is a little bit overrated, but Baylor keeps winning, so we're going to have to keep riding the wave. But a team to look out for who's not ranked, no one's talking about that much, is Kansas State. Yep. Kansas State is not ranked. Kansas State is 12-4. And basically outside of losing the first game of the season to a USC team who we all know at this point USC is dog crap. But outside of losing that game, they've never struggled. They've always hung in there. And if they get beat, they're getting beat by less than 5. So to come back after what they had the first game of the season is tremendous. So keep an eye on Kansas State. Kansas State's also, you look at this conference, everyone around them's ranked. They're not ranked. They're doing well in the conference. You can make some money off Kansas State. Next, you got, Big East. And again, this is a crapshoot division. There's going to be a lot of them that make it in. We can have fun and say the Providence Flyers suck because they do suck. They've lost 4 straight. It's actually really enjoyable to watch.
Yes.
Kim English struggled a little bit, because he jumped off the George Mason as soon as he got another chance to coach somewhere else. He didn't even try to, do his grand scheme. No one even knew he was a good coach yet. So, teams to look out for in this division. You can do Marquette, UConn, whatever. Seton Hall is the big number 1. They are number 1 in the conference right now. But Seton Hall right now, in my opinion, is like the hottest team in this division. They are probably one of the hottest teams in the country. They're winning on the road. They're winning at home. You don't want to mess with Seton Hall. And then the next one, they did just lose a close one, but St. John's, with Paterno as their head coach, they're a good team to watch, and they're actually going to make a good run in the NCAA tournament, I do believe. I think I do like St. John's probably making a Sweet 16 run. Past that, I have no idea, but St. John's is built for making wrong runs in tournaments. They got good defense, and they got good rebounding. If their shot's hitting, they're a force. If the shot doesn't hit, well, maybe it's not that much to walk. Big Sky. I can't say much about the Big Sky. Don't pay attention to the Big Sky. I'm going to be quite honest with you again. The Big South. There's really only one team to be watching out for in the Big South, and that's High Point. High Point has been awesome this season. They're undefeated in conference play. They did pretty well outside of conference play. High Point can get you some value on some bets. Just pay attention to them on the road against teams like Radford or Gardner Webb or Longwood, who were actually preseason favorites in those conferences. So look for High Point to make you some money there. Big Ten, again, it's another crapshoot division, man. These are the best teams in the country. The best team in the country for a reason. But if I can get you a sleeper team in this conference to pay attention to, try to bet on, Maryland is hot. Maryland is winning. So Maryland is a good team right now as we say this. Another good team right now as we say this, I would have to say is Northwestern. Northwestern is a sleeper. They do get a lot of value. But I think the main problem with this Big Ten conference is all their teams have troubles winning on the road. And that's the biggest thing I will say is a lot of their teams have troubles winning on the road. Currently right now, the hottest streak in the conference is Wisconsin. And I hate to say it, but I watched Wisconsin absolutely look horrible against Providence. And you know how we feel about Providence. Providence is pretty bad. So I'm still not sold on Wisconsin yet. So next is the Big West. And out of the Big West, I can't tell you much. Just going to say straight up. It's Big West gets the same team every year. It's UC Irvine or it's UC Santa Barbara. Don't pay attention to it. Don't watch it. That also happens late at night when I'm sleeping. So the CAA.
Fair enough.
The CAA, the best team to watch out for, and they're doing the same thing they did last year, is the Charleston Cougars. If you can, you should bet on the Charleston Cougars. You should, look out for them to make an NCAA tournament run again. At least a first-round win if they make it in. They're on a 9-game win streak. If you pay attention last year, I think they won 32 games, 31 games. At the current moment, they're on pace. They started the season a little sluggish, but they got the same team from last year, so be ready to ride that wave while the Charleston Cougars can give it to you. Next, I'm not going to lie to you, Conference USA. I'm not sold on anyone in the Conference USA. There are teams that are supposed to be good in the Conference USA, and they have not performed in the Conference USA. So I write it right now. You put a big question mark on the Conference USA. There's no telling what's going to happen. But don't worry. That Horizon League that you see coming up right now, the Horizon League, be paying attention to Oakland. If you know anything about the Oakland, they're a team that they get red hot about every 3 to 4 years because they do it the old-fashioned way. They have a coach there who's been there for 40 years or something like that. He builds it from the ground up. He gets himself some freshmen. He gets himself some sophomores. He builds them up for 3 to 4 years, and then they perform tremendously. Right now, they are playing the best in the conference. They look better than most teams in the country at sometimes. The biggest problem with the Oakland Golden Grizzlies is they don't like to play defense. So what happens when the Oakland Golden Grizzlies go on the road? It gets a little sketchy. So if you need a little bit of money grabs, Oakland might be underdogs on the road. They might be a good shout. Ivy League. Don't get too excited about the Ivy League. It's going to be Princeton. It's going to be Princeton all day. Princeton's just far out and beyond better than the rest of the division. The next, you got the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. Tongue twister, mouthful there. You see our old good friends, St. Peter's Peacocks, at number 1 in that conference. I'm not sold on St. Peter's. I've seen them play some good teams before the season started. They didn't play very well. But I can tell you the Quinnipiac Bobcats are a team to watch. They are a team to make some money off of. I don't know how Vegas hasn't understood that Quinnipiac is a good team. They are built to win games. They play defense, and they rebound, and they score a lot of points. What do you need to do? Rebound and score points. Rebound and play defense. They can do all three. They play good on the road. So Quinnipiac, I think Quinnipiac is a sleeper team, depending on their ranking when they make the in-season tournament. I think if Quinnipiac can win a good amount of games, look fierce in their tournament, I think Quinnipiac can go in there as a 14 seed, and I think we could hear some noise if they come in there as a 14 seed. Unfortunately, I think they'll be more like a 15 seed. I don't know if they can beat a 2 seed. That becomes a little bit different of a story. 2 seeds are a little bit more scary. Mid-American Conference, I got nothing for you. I don't pay attention to that one. There's just gonna be some of them out there. I ain't got nothing for you. Same like the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, dude. I got nothing for you. These teams, I'm not paying attention to these teams. I can't pay attention to everyone. But Missouri Valley Conference, Drake always seems to make a run, but they're not doing too well right now. But the Bradley Braves, they did really good at the start of the season. They did really good in tournament play at the start of the season. So don't be scared. You see Bradley come up later on. Bradley's pretty good. Be paying attention to Bradley. Next, you got the Mountain West Conference, and this is the conference to talk about in reality right now. Colorado State started the season amazingly hot, pretty much undefeated. Then they dropped one. It was okay. They dropped one. Then they start conference play, and it's like the identity of the team is just completely gone. So what are they going to do about it to fix it? No idea. I still like Colorado State. They played hard all season. I'm not sold on Nevada. I'm going to sell stock in Nevada. But you look at this conference, you got Utah State, who's ranked. Utah State, who lost all their players last year and brought in a whole new recruit of players this year. Used the NIL perfectly, as you're supposed to. Okay. They are ranked. They know what they did. Boise State is hot. They know what they're doing. San Diego State, you saw what run they made last year. This conference is scary. The fact that this conference may only get 2 people out of it is a little bit sad and depressing. But essentially look for Utah State to do really well in the season. They probably win it outright. They probably make the tournament outright because they won the conference. And then if Utah State wins the tournament, Mountain West tournament, I think we might only see 1 team out of this. I think the only way we get 2 teams out of this is someone else wins the tournament, which is unfortunate because I think at least 2 to 3 teams should come from this division.
Okay.
Northeast, I got nothing for you. It's just the Northeast. I'm not gonna lie to you again. Ohio Valley, I got nothing for you. It's just nothing. But then you see the Pac-12 conference, and you got to say, Lawrence, what you got for me in the Pac-12? And I'm just gonna tell you, Oregon is the real deal. Oregon is a little scary. No one's giving Oregon any credit. No credit at all to Oregon. To be fair, though, they haven't really played anyone scary yet in conference play. But they took care of business in other conferences beforehand, before the season, before the in-season part started. But I like Utah as well. Utah is also a rebound and play defense kind of team, so they travel well on the road. You can make some money off Utah on the road. And honestly, Arizona is not as bad as they're performing right now. I just think the Pac-12 was much better than people are giving it credit for, especially with you look at Arizona State stats. I don't know if you have time, but you look at Arizona State stats. They are bad. They're just not, on paper, a good team. Sometimes that don't matter when you got a good coach. That coach there is pretty darn good. Moving on to the Patriot League, I got nothing for you again. It's just the Patriot League, man. It's just the Patriot League. I don't know what to tell you. Southeastern Conference. Now, this one is a doozy of a conference. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot of good teams that no one knows about. What I will tell you right now, LSU is a mentally weak team. If you start beating them into the ground, they fold quick. So I wouldn't be safe. I wouldn't feel safe betting on LSU, just my opinion. Georgia Bulldogs have been a team in this conference to make money off of betting against for about 2 or 3 years now. That's not the case this year. Georgia's actually pretty scary. Georgia pretty much played Oregon all the way through. So I would be scared of Georgia. Georgia's played really well so far in conference play. Mainly, though, for this conference, I got a lot of people that I know that are really high on Auburn. I've still got a little question marks on Auburn. I don't think Alabama's currently played anyone amazing in conference play so far. So I don't know about Alabama. Tennessee is a big question mark because Tennessee's problem is they play down to the level of their opponents, and then out of nowhere they just flip the script and they either blow you out or they let you stay around. And they've let it burn them, letting the opponent stay around. So if I had a team that I think is going to make a big run from this conference, I'm going to go Kentucky. Yeah, I know that's a little cheat because I'm going with the 8 seed. But Kentucky is young right now, but by the time the tournament starts, Kentucky's no longer young, which allows them to make big runs. And I think this is the team this year that they can make a big run with.
Okay.
And then the next one, I think Western Carolina Catamounts. They're going to be the ones who win the Southern Conference. I think outright just win the Southern Conference. I think they win the tournament for the Southern Conference. Sanford Bulldogs, I don't think are that amazing. I've watched them play a little bit. I think Western Carolina is a better team for the fundamental reasons of they rebound and they play defense. They travel well on the road. Their first couple games in conference play have been on the road. They just get to finish off the season later on at home. If you look vice versa to Sanford, they played all their games at home. And as soon as they go on the road, Sanford's defense isn't that good. They're foldable. You get in a high-press situation. Fans are all loud around you. I can see them crumbling. I don't see Western Carolina crumbling. You move on to the Southland. There's no one in the Southland that's that amazing. Someone wins the Southland. Someone makes it from the Southland. And then guess what? I'm going to turn around and tell you the same thing. Southwestern Atlantic Conference. Someone wins it. It's not that amazing of a conference. And then I'm going to hit you with it again. The Summit League. Someone's going to win it. It's not that amazing of a conference.
Not that amazing.
And I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, guys. But the Sun Belt Conference, James Madison, you made some good moves as the season started. But you can't make those moves and then look this poor in conference play. You just can't. Especially if you want to make a move, if you want something to happen. If there's a team out of this conference that it does make a move, give me Georgia State. I think Georgia State does another one of the little miracle runs that they know how to do. So give me Georgia State out of this conference. I think they might be the ones to win it. You got the West Coast Conference. And again, if you look at this West Coast Conference, you're like, oh, what do you mean? It's just going to be Gonzaga. I don't know. Gonzaga seems like they are beatable this year. Gonzaga does not look that good. As I say that, Gonzaga is definitely a top 25 team borderline. But I like San Francisco this year. I think this is San Francisco's year to finally get over a hump that they haven't been able to get over, which is St. Mary's and Gonzaga. I am not sold on St. Mary's at all. I don't think St. Mary's is that good. St. Mary's also is 4-1 in the conference play because they played no one in conference play yet. They haven't played a single person. They've got to play the bottom 4. So don't be sold yet on St. Mary's. Give me San Fran or upset sleeper, give me Santa Clara. And last but not least, to round them all off, Western Athletic Conference. You're looking at one of the best teams that no one is talking about in the entire country, and that's the Grand Canyon.
Okay.
Grand Canyon is definitely, arguably, the best team in Arizona. And that is better than the Arizona Wildcats. If you look at record-wise, they're actually better than Arizona. So that'll be my list for the NCAA tournament. My list to make some money off, get some profits going. But if you can, living outside of Virginia, if a Virginia team goes on the road, bet against them.
Bet against them. Never heard wiser words. Okay, so that wraps up some of the sleepers, some teams you should watch out for this men's basketball season. Yeah, what do we have left? Any final thoughts? Anything you want to get out before we wrap up the show?
No, I got nothing left. I gave you all you had today. Gave you everything I got. I'm waiting for Wednesday, though, because I do have a lot to say about them Cowboys.
Them boys. Them boys. So, yeah, this is the basketball focused episode. On Wednesday, we'll recap Super Wildcard Weekend, go over all the games, game by game, and then we'll also preview the divisional round as well. So stay tuned for Wednesday, or I guess it's going to be released on Thursday's episode. We got a lot to talk about there. But I have nothing else either. So this is episode 66, MTL Sports Podcast. Check us out on YouTube, Spotify, follow the Twitter account, all that good stuff. And with that being said, we're out. Peace.
Me window